Hjärtligt välkomna till Aktiespararnas aktiedag. Mitt namn är Ulf Boberg och jag leder frågestunden efter bolagets presentation. The next company to present is Expres2ion Biotech Holding, and their CEO Ben Frandsen will explain to you how a CRO specialized in developing cell lines based on the fruit fly work. Varsågod, Bent.
Thank you very much, Ulf. And thank you very much to Aktiespararna for allowing me to present Expres2ion Biotechnologies here in Lund in Sweden. This is my second event here. I could not come in March when the last Aktiespararna event happened in Stockholm, but that was when Denmark closed down its borders due to the lockdown for COVID-19 purposes, and I'm happy to be here now. This disease has proven a transforming event for the company. How awkward it may sound, COVID-19 is a very important event as we develop a COVID-19 vaccine. My name is Ben Frandsen. I'm CEO of Expres2ion Biotechnologies since December 2019. I've been in the company for 4 years, heading sales and marketing before my appointment, and I'm looking very much forward to present to you in details Expres2ion Biotechnologies. Let me be clear about our vision and mission statements. We aim to be a leader in immunotherapy and infectious diseases field. This states our focus, and we have the technology platform as well as a pipeline now that allows us to be reaching this vision. We also strive to deliver new therapeutic, preventive and diagnostic products that can meet some of the gravest medical needs, whether in developed or developing countries. The latter is important because our technologies even allow us to make very affordable vaccines. This is how we present the company. If you look at the middle blue section, Expres2ion Biotechnologies was established in Denmark in 2010 by a group of scientists who had been working during the 00s with various methods of expressing proteins, and in the course of that work came across Drosophila S2 cells, Drosophila Snyder 2 cells, which are fruit fly cells, where they invented a vector system for improved protein expression, which is a fundamental platform for producing difficult to express proteins, and it's especially useful for vaccine development purposes. Since inception in 2010, we've been establishing a very nice contract research organization business with increasing revenues, especially since we went on the stock exchange in 2016. This is what is shown in the upper part. Expres2ion Biotech Holding is the parent company that owns Expres2ion Biotechnologies and is a listed company. We now have more than 6,000 shareholders, which is a 10-fold increase since we went on the IPO and a 6-fold increase since end of last year, which tells you a lot about the transformation we are at in 2020. Lastly, we have a DAPVAC shown at the bottom. This is a joint venture that Expres2ion Biotechnologies established in 2017 with a group of scientists from Copenhagen University, which has a very exciting virus-like particle technology, which allows to make very efficacious vaccines. Expres2ion owns 50% of this company, and in the course of our pipeline development, I'll tell you how this ownership will change. So we have a business model where we focus on pipeline development activities and on the other side, a service business. The pipeline development focus is very important now, and I'll show you the pipeline shortly. We have a broad customer and collaborator base. We have had more than 100 clients since we established in 2010. Many of these are well-known big pharma companies and well-skilled scientific research organizations. So we have a very good network here, allowing us to be to gain a good networking when we seek partnerships in our pipeline. Our focus overall, as mentioned in our vision statement, is within immunotherapy and vaccines. We see a global need to establish vaccines in these fields, and especially if you look at infectious diseases. Right now we're focusing on COVID-19 and influenza and malaria in our pipeline, all diseases where we see a lot of fatalities around the world. And of course now with COVID-19, more than 900,000 have died now since this broke out in end of last year. Furthermore, within cancer, we are focusing on breast cancer, also a very deadly disease, where 600,000 patients die every year. And we have vaccines for this area as well as the infectious diseases area that will allow us to make a difference. This is a depiction of the pipeline where we have a clinical stage even. We embarked on the COVID-19 vaccine in the beginning of the year. It's a disease that allows us to use our technology platforms, and we already aim to be in the clinical stage before the end of the year. Secondly, we have the breast cancer vaccine using the same technologies, and this is a project where we aim to move into clinical testing in the beginning of 2022. And which is also the cause for a cash raising process that we have initiated that I'll tell you more about in the end. Furthermore, we have a pipeline focus within influenza and malaria. Influenza, we are also well positioned with our technologies and have a grant sponsorship there in a collaboration between European and Indian companies, allowing us to move on that field. And in malaria, this has been the basis for many of the projects originally in Expres2ion Biotech, where we have now a handful of various malaria projects that all have an important difference. The clinical stage projects, the RH5 and the VAR2CSA, which are in phase 2 and phase 1 respectively, are made together with Oxford University and the Copenhagen University respectively, and these have documented clinical findings. Let me move closely into the technologies we're looking into. On the left side you see Expres2ion's technology based on the fruit fly cells, which is a unique protein expression system that allow to express complex molecules for the purpose of making vaccines and other proteins for research purposes, both and therapeutic and diagnostic purposes as well. Furthermore, we have established a glycoengineered cell line that may raise the immunogenicity significantly. On the right side, you have the virus-like particle technology, which is a technology originating in AdaptVac and is very, very useful for making vaccines, raising immunogenicity, creating strong antibody responses, and showing strong neutralizing antibodies, which are exactly features we've seen in the COVID-19 vaccine and the breast cancer vaccine that we are focusing on. Very quickly, a review of why virus-like particle technologies is so good. Basically, it increases both immunogenicity and safety if you look at comparing with other vaccine methods out there. We have seen this already in the HPV field for cervical cancer, where there are products based on virus-like particles or VLPs on the market. And the notion here is that you can make a one-dose only vaccine and then you are protected for a long time. So the long-term efficacy is what we're aiming at also with the vaccine projects that we have in our pipeline. So in SARS-CoV-2, the current COVID-19 virus, we knew already in the beginning of the year that the antigens for this vaccine could be made in S2, the fruit fly cells. That has been shown before when the MERS, the Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome, and SARS, the disease in the beginning of the 00s broke out, and the notion there was that the antigens alone could not induce an immune response, not even if you applied an adjuvant, which is what you typically do with vaccines. So we want to apply a unique system like the VLP display system that allows to raise immunogenicity significantly. And that's exactly why we embarked on the coronavirus vaccine in the beginning of this year. Sorry for this busy slide, but it shows actually the collaborative efforts that we have put in motion to make the COVID-19 vaccine, as well as the very short timelines that we are working under here to make a vaccine that can move into clinical stage before the end of the year. This has all turned out quite well. We announced the COVID-19 vaccine project in early February already, and before end of March, we had succeeded in obtaining soft diluting funding from the EU through a Horizon 2020 grant in a consortium with German and Dutch and other Danish development partners. Furthermore, we have succeeded in already establishing commercial partnerships surrounding this COVID-19 project, meaning that we have AGC Biologics in as a GMP, good manufacturing practice manufacturer, which can scale up the production methods, and not least also Bavarian Nordic, which we announced in the end of July, which is a commercial partner that will take on the responsibility of developing the late-stage trials as well as distribute the vaccine when it comes available, which is currently estimated to be already in 2021, subject to funding and regulatory requirements. So this COVID-19 vaccine has some very strong features. We aim for very strong protection and also have very low cost of goods foreseen with the way we use the VLP platform and the S2 cells. Furthermore, if you look at the right, it's difficult to assess the market potential of this, but clearly it's a widespread disease that we live in at the moment, and we have reason to believe that with our features in our vaccine, we will also have a very strong foothold in this disease. Moving from COVID-19, we move into the breast cancer project. Basically, this is clear proof of concept in animal data showing that this vaccine also induces a very strong immune response. You can see the red line on top that shows antibody increased levels when you inject a breast cancer vaccine. This is a HER2 antigen coupled to the VLP, and you inject that in mice, and you see a very strong immune response compared with non-treated or the antigen alone injected mice. So this in itself shows that this vaccine can break tolerance, which is a very important thing for any vaccine. Furthermore, we see in some humanized mice models where these mice spontaneously develop HER2 breast cancer, and you can see on the upper chart that we have a 50 to 100% prevention of disease compared with non-treated mice, which spontaneously will develop the cancer and die by within 30 weeks. The same you see in the lower charts, where you see tumor multiplicity on the y-axis, and here you see that tumors are actually not growing when you use the VLP HER2 vaccine as shown in the red. Furthermore, on the right, you see the growth in tumors, also in tumor resistant patients to current monoclonal antibody therapies. And you can see the difference between the left and the right pictures, that mice which have been injected with the HER2 VLP breast cancer vaccine, they don't develop the tumors. So that's just a very brief description of the first two projects that we're working on, COVID-19 and the breast cancer vaccine candidate. All of these projects we have in our pipeline, as you can see in the right, are addressing high market potential. And furthermore, this is the basis for moving on with the company now. We have initiated a capital raise process where we are raising 216 million Swedish kronor, structured in a 131 million cash raise here in the autumn of 2020, and a warrant scheme that allows for raising an additional up to 85 million Swedish krona in 2 warrant programs for the shareholders in 2021. The proceeds from this cash raise are going into finalizing the development work for the COVID-19 vaccine, and more importantly, also to now really develop the breast cancer vaccine candidate that we have at hand. As I mentioned in the beginning, the breast cancer vaccine candidate comes from our joint venture Aktiedagen, and in connection with we have an option to license this from Aktiedagen, and in connection with taking this option, we will incur new costs that this cash raise will support us with. We have news flow that is very strong here going forward near term. We have within the COVID-19, we are initiating clinical trials before the end of the year, which is a very important milestone, and subject to Bavarian Nordic also reaching funding and regulatory allowances. Going forward, we expect this even to be market launched before the end of 2021. For the HER2 breast cancer, we're going to pursue manufacturing development and scaling up during 2021, and all with the purpose of initiating the first clinical trial in early 2022. For malaria and influenza, we are also going to pursue these projects in combination with our collaboration partners and to push these forward to next preclinical stage. This is our management team. I lead the company, have more than 20 years of experience from the life science industry, have worked especially with licensing and partnership deal making. Dr. Vian de Jong is our Chief Science Officer and co-founder of the company and co-inventor of the protein expression technology. Keith Alexander is our new colleague here in the management team, who is starting on 1st of October, an American citizen residing in Denmark and having a strong background in the banking industry and the consulting industry, and will support us in our path going forward. And a very strong board that support us. So going forward, we are aiming to strengthen our revenue and value creation with new large customers and projects. We have a clear roadmap for developing pipeline towards major value inflection points. We focus on partnering activities for financing and risk sharing of assets. We identify new assets and partners with high value synergy to our own platform, and we have a continued commitment to obtain non-dilutive financing. Thank you very much.
Thank Thank you very much. Even though we don't have any audience here, people are listening to you and have sent in questions. So I will start to read some questions directly, how they were sent in. Two of them I will combine. It's regarding the former co-founder and key person, Charlotta Dyring. She has, according to her LinkedIn, left the company. And I guess the question is, people are concerned what will happen with her giant amount of shares in the company. Will there be a big sellout?
I cannot speak on Charlotte's behalf, of course, but I appreciate her founding the company together with Aktiedagen and Martin Roland, our chairman, and has been absolutely instrumental to bringing the company where it is today and when it IPO'd in 2016. For the rest of this year, I can assure you she's not going to divest her shares. That's okay. An agreement. And apart from that, that's up to her.
Yeah, I understand fully that that's not your responsibility, but there is an agreement. So she will not sell off during 2020. Will you have a continuous dialogue with her to minimize a big sell-off?
Yes, that's a short answer to that.
The second question is regarding you recently traded 16% of your ownership in Vakt, and to be able to exercise the option to license AV01. So the question is, will Expres2ion remain as partner owner of AdaptVac, or was this the first step to leave that ownership?
It's not a first step to leave that ownership, but it became part of the agreement in connection with making the option to license agreement for the breast cancer vaccine candidate back in February.
Okay.
And where we have some very nice licensing terms that we have also communicated, which are actually very favorable. And as part of that agreement, there's also a divestiture of the ownership of AdaptVac. We remain very collaborative with AdaptVac and have very strong affiliations with the owners, the other owners of AdaptVac as well, next-gen vaccines. So I think going onwards, we can easily see other collaborations with AdaptVac also handled like we've done with the breast cancer vaccine candidate in other exciting projects that currently reside in AdaptVac.
Okay. And the third question, also, I will summarize the question from some of the shareholders. There's a disappointment among the shareholders, and I guess those are maybe smaller shareholders, due to the communication. They lack communication and they don't see the progress that you obviously have promised them. So communication is one of the things that creates trust. How will you increase communication with the markets and also the small shareholders?
Sure. Well, first of all, I'm going to improve that for sure. It's been a special year in 2020 because of the COVID-19 situation. We're still only 16 people in the company, very little administrative personnel. Part of the reason for hiring also Keith Alexander as our new CFO is also to upgrade our investor relations, so we will be more communicative with the investor community. We are working on updating our webpage, which I admit is old at the moment, and that will be part of the communication strategy to be more informative, also using the web options available.
Yeah, sounds great. So then coming back to the company, and you say that you are a fee-for-service company, and you have this unique platform, Drosophila S2. And my first question there is, how is the IP protection? Because many other people use Drosophila. in the research and drug development? How do you protect it?
Let me first stress that we are a pipeline-focused company.
I will come
That's
to
a
that.
new strategy now.
I will come to that.
So the fee-for-service is not having the same weight going forward. But of course, we have very strong client relations, and we are going to maintain those, and we will continue to support new clients. But it's our pipeline focus which is going to drive the value of the company. And that's why we have embarked on the COVID-19 project and now are going to take on 100% control of the breast cancer vaccine candidate. On the IP, was that referring to the original protein expression system or the new pipeline projects? You can say with the new pipeline projects, we have very strong IP protection from the virus-like particle technology and the whole virus-like particle and glue technology that makes any protein being assembled on the surface of this virus-like particle. That's all protected and issued in the it's issued in the US, and we have applications in the other parts of the world.
Yeah. The reason why I said that you are a fee-for-service company based on your cell line Drosophila was that reading your QA reports, etc., until August 25th this year, where you in a press release say that you will develop your own pipeline. So I think it's very, very recent that you actually communicated that you will develop your own pipeline.
Yes.
That's why it's easy for someone reading your Q reports to still believe that you're a service company.
We did mention this also in our first quarter report that we released in May. And we're going to focus much more on this in our next quarterly report. Of course, it's where the value creation potential is for the company.
So what will happen with the Expres2 kit? Will you still work with the Drosophila S2 cell lines? Will you use it in-house for your own pipeline building up, or will you sell fee for service and have that as a cash cow or whatever?
It's a very unique system that has allowed expression of really complex proteins, and we always have very good positive feedback from our clients on applying this, whether it's placing service orders at expression or using the system under license. We will continue to sell those licenses, but honestly, it's not where the highest potential is for the company. But it's important for us to continuously maintain the good relations in the scientific community on this protein expression technology.
And the IP, what about the IP for the S2 cell line? Do you have protection? How do you protect it?
I believe it's until the end of this decade. And then we have launched the new glyco-engineered cell lines, which have completely new patent applications sent here.
So there's still some protection.
Yes.
Your partner, Aktiedagen, closed the deal with Bavarian Nordic. And your part of that deal is a milestone of 2 million euro, as I understand. When will that be due?
That's possibly due within the next 1.5 years, because we have such an accelerated timeline. So we expect to move into the first clinical trial by the end of this year, and Bavarian Nordic, assuming they have their funding in place and the regulatory authorities allow for that, will start clinical phase 3 testing before mid next year, and even have the opportunity to launch the product by 2021. This is all a very, very accelerated development plan. So all milestones addressing milestone payments addressing development milestones, they will incur rather quickly. So that's why I'm saying within the next 1.5 years.
And the 2 million euros, is that the only part from the deal with Bavarian?
No. That's That's basically a share of the milestone
Okay.
payments, and then there's a percentage of the royalty income that Adapvac they will obtain from Bavarian Nordic.
Okay.
So Expression gets a royalty of Adapvac's income. Adapvac gets a royalty of Bavarian Nordic sales.
Okay.
So it's a two-step royalty, if you like.
Okay. So thank you very much. The shareholders expect now a very, very good communication from your side, and I just wish you very good luck.
Thank you very much.